So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this online event organized as a final event of the IPMWORKS project. And I will start with a few opening words. The H2020 IPMWORKS project is ending at the end of March this year. This project is a coordination and support action funded by the European Commission through the H2020 program. And IPMWORKS focused on the implementation of integrated pest management with the specific objective of reducing the reliance of European agriculture on plant protection products to reduce their use and their impact for the environment and for human health. IPMWORKS started in year 2020 in the middle of the COVID crisis. It started under the banner of the Farm to Fork strategy and its target of halving pesticide use and pesticide impacts. Since then, the context of sustainable use of pesticides has changed in EU. The proposal for a regulation on sustainable use of pesticide, the so-called SUR, has been rejected by the European Parliament. And last year we had farmers protest throughout Europe, with farmers often protesting against environmental constraints in the context of unfair competition of non-European agricultures. However, the SUD directive is still in force. The Farm to Fork strategy includes two non-legally binding pesticide reduction targets, namely a 50% reduction in the use and risk of chemical pesticides and a 50% reduction in the use of more hazardous pesticides. The Commission publishes each year updates on progresses at EU level towards these farm-to-fork pesticide reduction targets. In this context, we choose quite a provocative title for our final IPMWORKS event. The title is, Do We Still Need IPM? The answer to this question is definitely yes. We do need IPM, and we still do need to reduce pesticide use in Europe. IPMWORKS have demonstrated that pioneer farmers implementing a holistic approach to IPM are indeed using much less pesticides than current usual farming. IPMWORKS has validated a methodology to foster the adoption of holistic IPM by farmers. The IPMWORKS consortium, with its 31 partners in 16 countries, is calling for the continuation and extension of the IPMWORKS initiative to continue the promotion of IPM adoption and the demonstration that a general adoption of IPM would not lead to any issue for food security or farming profitability in Europe. We hope that this IPMWORKS final event will convince the audience about the high relevance of the work that we have been doing during those last years and about the need to continue our efforts in the future. We organized this webinar today with two main parts. The first session will be dedicated to the main achievements of the IPMWORKS project, with testimonies of farmers, of what we call hub coaches, presentations of the many productions of the project. This session will be chaired by Serp Wigboldus from Wageningen Research in the Netherlands. Then we will have a short break, and then the second session of the event will be an interactive workshop. It's quite a challenge to have an interactive workshop online, but we found interesting to have the opportunity to collect good ideas and to discuss those good ideas about policy needs to promote holistic IPM more efficiently and to promote holistic IPM so as to drastically reduce pesticide use in Europe and to do so while meeting the approval of the whole farming community. And this approval of the whole farming community is another challenge, but it might be the most important one. During this interactive workshop, we will use Mentimeter, and Joaquin Balduque from CIHAM, Spain, will explain to you how we will manage with this Mentimeter tool at the beginning of this second session. And finally, we will close this event with some concluding words by Olivier Legal, who is chairing the European Partnership Agroecology, a major European instrument to support the many challenges faced by European agriculture, including the challenge of reducing the use and impacts of pesticides. So I will not be longer for these opening words, but before giving the floor to SERP to start this first session, I have two important statements. First of all, we have a live interpretation available for this event, unfortunately in French only, but we know that we have quite a large audience from France and from French-speaking areas today. So if you want to use this facility of live interpretation, please use the interpretation button on the bottom of your Zoom screen to select the alternative channel in French. Secondly, please be aware that this event is recorded. The replay will be available very soon on the project website and in our YouTube channel. So please feel free to advertise for this replay towards colleagues who were not able to join today, this afternoon. Thank you very much for your attention. Please enjoy the webinar. And now I give the floor to SERP for the first session. Please, SERP.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe you can turn on my video. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, also a welcome from my side. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar. Important topics and quite a few presentations. Before I continue, there's a Q&A button in your screen, which enables you to provide your questions that later after the presentations we can respond to. But of course, there will be many questions, and there's the opportunity to also vote for the questions that you prefer to get answered. So please have a look at your screen where you find the Q&A button and make use of it, and also for the voting option. So without further ado, I would like to share my screen. Nicola, just that you know, I think I can hide my caption, so I should be able to share, and then from there I will give the floor to the presenters. So I will be sharing now. And okay, let's see whether we have the full screen. Can you see the full screen, Nicola? Can you nod if it's clear like this?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is in the full screen.
So this is the Q&A button that I just referred to, and the voting option. And most voted options will be answered first. So then again, I would like to give the floor to Nicolas Meunier-Jonet for further explanations on the IPMWORKS approach. And I will hand you the slide control. There you go.
Thank you very much, SERP. So I am the first speaker today. So I will present IPMWORKS, the IPMWORKS project, the IPMWORKS network, and the specific methodology that we have been developing to promote holistic IPM and reduce the reliance on synthetic pesticides. Can I change the slides? Not yet. Yes, okay. excuse me. That's it. So the objectives of IPMWORKS is clearly to work with pioneer farmers to demonstrate with those pioneer farmers that reducing drastically pesticide use and pesticide impact is possible, that it is cost effective, and that it does not impair food security in Europe, provided that IPM is considered with a holistic approach. So what is a holistic approach? We agreed during the course of the project with all the experts on IPM in the project about a definition of a holistic approach to IPM with objectives of holistic IPM, which is, of course, to get healthy crops with a reduced pesticide use, reduced impacts, and for a safer environment, enhanced biodiversity. Also, holistic IPM should avoid resistances and provide a better pest control. And this can be reached based on the combination of the 5 pillars of holistic IPM that I will present shortly. The first pillar is the management of agricultural landscapes with the diversity of semi-natural habitats, with hedgerows, flower streets, and so on, to attract beneficial organisms and reduce the pressure of the pests. The second pillar is the redesign of cropping systems, again, to decrease pest, weed, and disease pressures through crop rotations, cultivars, and so on. The third pillar is the preferential use of non-chemical control options when they are available, for example, biocontrol solutions, mechanical weeding, and so on. The fourth pillar is about the optimization of decision-making to avoid unnecessary treatments. And for example, we can use decision support systems. And on this topic, we have been working during the course of the project with our sister project, IPM Decisions, who is providing a platform to give an access to decision support systems. We will talk about it later. And finally, the fifth pillar is about the increasing of the efficiency of treatments when we are treating, for example, using specific equipment for patch spraying on perennial weeds, for example. Based on this holistic approach, we built the IPMWORKS network of demo farm. And this slide is to present the network. We have 31 partners in the project in 16 countries. And the network of demo farm is based on 2 components. First component is we are coordinating previously existing national farm demo networks. We have 5 of those national demo networks, one in France, the DEFI network, the LEAF in the UK, Grown in the Netherlands, the DIPS network in Germany, and PestiRed in Switzerland. But the core of our network is that we launched 22 hubs of demo farms in 14 countries, which makes the launching of almost 250 demo farmers. So the main concept of the IPMWORKS is the concept of hub. So what is a hub? A hub is a group of 10 to 15 farmers from the same sector, living close enough to be able to meet and to discuss about the question of IPM. There are most often pioneer farmers who are implementing IPM, but very important, there are farmers who are wishing to decrease further pesticide use, and they are ready to share knowledge, to discuss with other farmers, to give advice and receive advices. And they are having some field activities, meetings every year, and they are also organizing demo events. And each hub is facilitated by what we call a hub coach. What is a hub coach? We will have testimonies of hub coaches today. Hub coaches are very important in the functioning of IPMWORKS. They have the role of facilitating the group of farmers, helping farmers to find IPM solutions that are adapted to the case of each farm. They are facilitating group activities. and they are organizing demo events and so on, and they are collecting some data in the farms. But Jolene, so you can have this nice video produced by Inagro in Belgium, presenting the role of hub coaches. But Jolene will testimony this afternoon to explain more about the role of hub coaches. So you have here a picture of typical activities of groups of farmers discussing in the field about the management of the pests. We had a fantastic endorsement of the methodology by the IPMWORKS community. I think both by farmers who are very happy to have technical discussions with peer colleagues, and they are happy to feel reassured from the group by the discussion they can have with other colleagues. And for hub coaches also, they found the approach very interesting as a new approach for giving advices to farmers, to provide some more diverse activities, and to get progressively the development of trust with the farmers within the groups. But this methodology that we developed requires specific skills from the advisors, from the hub coaches. So we organized during the project capacity building for the advisors. We had several sessions for capacity building to create an EU-wide network of advisors who are knowing each other, who are sharing some technical knowledge, who are sharing tips and methods for fostering knowledge exchange. And the development of the methodology was also based on peer-to-peer knowledge exchange from advisor to advisor during the course of the project. So this methodology to work with farmers will be probably a major legacy of the IPMWORKS project. We produced some excellent resources to explain how it works. For example, we have a report of the hub self-assessment, which is a public deliverable of IPMWORKS. And we have another document presenting educational material for social skills in IPM demo hubs. And I encourage you to download those documents, read them. They give a lot of tips about how to recruit farmers, how to build trust, how to organize interactive sessions with farmers, and plenty of other information, very important. Finally, to conclude with this, the main outcomes of the project that will be discussed this afternoon are presented here. So as I said, first, one of the major outcomes that we are proud of is to have built a community of hub coaches. We have made the proof of concept for this methodology for working with farmers. We have a shared method, and we organize a number of demo events. We developed a mapping of IPM solutions that will be presented thereafter. We communicated a lot with a number of channels. We have a nice YouTube channels where you have a number of testimonies of farmers, of hub coaches, and so on. We developed an IPM resource toolbox, which will be presented thereafter, where you can find also e-learning training modules that we developed during the course of the project based on the expertise of the partners of the project, but also on the success stories in IPMWORKS farms. We made some surveys that will be presented thereafter, and also we contributed a lot to policy by making some policy recommendations, and we contributed to the debate around the SUR proposal. And I think that's all for my side. I want to thank you for your attention. And I give you the floor back, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Nicolas, for giving the overview. And I'd like to give the floor to Mette Sunderskov to help us dig up a little more from the things that were touched just a little bit by Nicolas on the progress made in IPM adoption in IPMWORKS farms and mapping IPM solution. I will give you the slide control Mette, and then the floor is yours. You can take it from here.
Thank you very much, Serb. So yes, I'll try to give you an overview of some of the results that we have collected and made in this project. It's not easy in 9 minutes, but so it will be an overview, and you'll be able to dig more into the individual parts by visiting our website, I would say. So in the project, we had 3 surveys. And now shift. Okay. We did 3 surveys. Number 1, at the very beginning of the project, was a qualitative survey. So we tried to establish a baseline for the hub farmers in the project, mapping the awareness, the level of IPM adoption at the start of the project, a rough estimate of pesticide use, and it was also a kind of self-assessment where farmers tried to evaluate how effective their system was. Survey 1 was followed by survey 3 in the end of the project. So those 2 surveys are connected because that was number 3 was to find out what actually changed during the project lifetime. Number 2 was a quantitative survey, very detailed study, and I'll tell you a little bit more when we shift after a certain time, or who shift my slide? Sorry. Okay, so from survey 1, there's a number of booklets available on the website, and they're there now. And you can dig into the 5 sectors that we have in the project and see how the farmers evaluated their systems at the beginning of the project. This is just to show you bits and pieces that are available there. But I do encourage you to go there and have a look at the individual booklets. There's a lot of interesting information there. I'll only dig a little bit into some highlights here. There were some similarities among the sectors. In general, all the farmers that were participating in the project, or maybe not all of them, but the majority had a very high awareness about IPM as a way to reduce plant protection products, to use them, regardless of sector. And they also, but I would say, of course, they had a strong requirement for IPM to be cost effective. I mean, the farmers need to make money. And generally, farmers were driven by a motivation to achieve high yields of high quality. Again, that's natural for farmers. But they also wanted to do IPM, to implement IPM to meet the demands of consumers and the society, and to protect their own health, their family's health, health in general of humans, and also to protect the environment. There were some minor deviations, I would say, among the sectors. So the risk of relying on alternative IPM strategies was considered slightly higher by outdoor vegetables and greenhouse farmers than by arable, orchard, and wine producers. And the increased labor requirement for some of the IPM strategies were slightly higher importance for arable and greenhouse sectors than for outdoor vegetables, orchards, and wine producers. So this was just a few things that I spotted reading these booklets, and but do go there, see for yourself how you find it relevant for your country, your sector. Moving a bit, we are still in survey 1. From all this information that we gathered from the farmers, try to establish a new IPM index. So I'm not going into details here, but it sort of scored the IPM implemented at farm level and put a number of points to each farm. And these scores, they range from 0 to 80. And then we tried to put the treatment frequency index, so the amount of pesticide use, you can say, as a function of this integrated pest management index. And now I'll show you the the graph from the vineyard sector. And as you can see, there are some differences among the countries, but in general, if you have a higher IPM index, there's a tendency to have a lower treatment frequency index. So again, we have this kind of graph for each individual sector. So yeah, this is quite interesting. And even though this treatment frequency index that are in these booklets are very rough estimates, we didn't have the precise TFI at that time. And here you can also see that you can see some of the actual IPM tactics that vineyard farmers implement. And this was in the booklets, you can see those kind of indications of IPM tactics. But we also in the project tried to gather all the information we could on which IPM tactics did farmers in the hubs actually use. And I will move quickly on from this one, but please go back to the slides after this webinar to have a look at the tactics that are listed here. So survey 2, this was a really, really big task for hub coaches. And we do acknowledge that they did a great job, the ones that put in these data. We collected all the information on crop type, which products they use, the amount they use, fertilizer, seeding rate, seeding practices, machinery, timing, etc. So they had this system, Acrosis, to gather this kind of information. The system is used in France in the DEFI network, which was why it was chosen. And it was a huge task, but what it actually enables now is that you can go into the DEFI graph tool, and you can actually plot some of all of these data in different ways. When I did this presentation, I didn't have the exact link, but we will put that in the chat, I hope, Nicola. And then you can actually go play a little around with the data there. So what we did, I mean, this is just a subset of the data. It's from arable farms. It's from these 6 countries. We have, so you can see for each of these bars is an individual field. And you can see we have the total TFI of all the pesticides that are used in the specific field. And what you quickly spot is that some of the fields have quite a lot higher TFI than the rest. And looking at the individual data here, well,
you have one more minute, Mette.
Sorry?
So if you could round off, you have 1 more minute.
Sorry.
You
already?
have one more minute.
Okay, then I'm not going to do all the presentation, but that was very quick. Sorry, but some specific crops, they lead to very high TFI levels. And so I'll have to skip some of these then. Sorry. We also tried to calculate other indicators, and that was the result is that there's no linear relationship between TFI and these 2 indicators that we have that I show here. Again, you can go have a look. But these are related to the factors that are important to farmers, that the actual impact, the load of the products used. So if farmers, or when farmers are so motivated by reducing the risk for environment and humans, then using a TFI might not be the best measure. That would be my conclusion. So alternatives are appreciated from my side. Yeah, so just that in the end with survey 3, we saw that farmers were very motivated by this concept that we used in this project. So there has been an increased motivation to decrease pesticide use by participating in this project. And IPMWORKS and the way we do this has really helped farmers to change their attitude, I would say. and they are motivated to continue in this way. So I'll stop there then, Seb. So
Yeah, sorry for having to interrupt. The time is running fast, and there's quite a few things that we'd like to share. So sorry for having to stop you a bit short, but of course, these materials are also available for those who want to delve a little bit deeper into it. And of course, questions can be asked as well later through the Q&A. So I will stop the slide.
yeah, you just have to skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So then I take the control. Okay, there we are. Then now we are going to have two more, going to the on-the-ground realities of IPM. I think some testimonials from farmer experiences. First, Bruno Neves from Portugal. Now, I'd like to ask Bruno, are you sent a late PowerPoint? Would you like to use it, or are you going to just talk us through this, or what is your preference? Because if you want to use the PowerPoint, I need to shift now.
I prefer use the PowerPoint.
Okay, so then I stop sharing and I need to
I will share the slide.
Sorry?
I can share the slides of Bruno if you wish.
Okay, that's also good. Yeah, I have it, but you can share it too. Yeah, great. If you can also hand the control to Bruno.
Yes, let me do this.
Thank you.
So Bruno, you should have the control of your slides now.
I think you first need to activate. Yeah, now it is. Thank you.
So I can start? Yes?
Yes, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me and say that gives me a great pleasure to be here to share with you a little of my family company story. My name is Bruno Neves, and since 2015, I have been the manager of this company called Carlos Neves. I have a master's degree in agricultural engineering with a specialty in plant protection from the School of Agriculture of Lisbon. Also, I have got a degree in healthcare, which gives me an extra sense of responsibility in food safety. We have 30 years of experience in intensive production of lettuce for a retail chain in Portugal, for Intermarché, and we are located near of Lisbon. And our main concern and challenge has been to produce high quality food, which to us means producing food without pesticides residues whenever possible. Food production is a dynamic process and require specific knowledge. We truly believe that finding a sustainable balance between us, the consumer, the environment, and the client is the key to successfully achieving this goal, which require us to consider different aspects at the same time. First, our company needs to be sustainable. Second, respect for the consumer and providing food safety. Food can have either a positive or negative impact on consumers' health, and we do everything to promote consumers' health. Thirdly, respect for the environment, which is our free halley, but without its balance, it won't be possible to produce high quality food. That's why it's so important to protect it as much as possible. Fourthly, and no less importantly, respect the client and offer products visually attractive to facilitate the sale. Our experience shows us that this balance can only be achieved through a holistic and integrated pest management approach, We believe this is the right path, and it is the one we have been following. In practice, the key is to plan well in the back office according to the agricultural products we aim to produce and have the support of partners based on a real and true relationship. We select the cultivars that is best suited to our environmental conditions, and to support this selection, my partner set up continuous trials. In addition, we also study the best approach to avoid crop problems by applying physical techniques such as localized irrigation in 2008 or mulching with control weeds in 2013. Conservative techniques such as the maintenance of riparian buffers in 2012, the use of auxiliary insects in 2014, or a creation of flower buffers in 2019, which support life for beneficial microorganisms and promote biodiversity. And recently, techniques that promote soil quality, such as addition of microorganisms to the soil in 2021, cover crops in 2022, and the use of carbon-rich organic matter in 2024. As we worry about soil quality, we have established partnership with a research team from the university since 2023, so that together we can find the best techniques to promote soil quality while ensuring the production sustainability. Beyond these techniques, it's essential to implement continuous monitoring, not only of crop, pests and diseases, but also organisms like mites or insects, to identify when we need to control problems. In case of need, our first approach is always to apply biological solutions, and only if they are unsuccessful, we move on to the use of pesticides. Overall, as a result of this philosophy, we significantly reduced the use of pesticides, and we feel satisfied with the high quality of our products. Last year, we reduced the use of pesticides and near of 100%. The decrease in pressure from the main pests in our crops is related to increase of biodiversity in our fields. We can see ladybugs, bees, syrphids, spider, wasps, mites, snakes, birds, and analysis show that the same happens in the soil ecosystem. We believe that lower pressure from the pests and diseases is also linked to our improved soil conditions. So, improving our soil quality is our priority. In Portugal, the adoption of sustainable farming practice is a growing trend. However, we believe that some issues may lead to the use of pesticides. The main problem is a lower selling value. This approach, more environmentally and food quality friendly, is more expensive and risky for the farmer, and it has not been highly valued by the consumer, who doesn't know the difference between my product and a similar product produced with pesticides. The market requirements should be reconsidered, giving importance to the appearance and height of agricultural products as the main factors for the selling them, encourage more use of pesticides. Farmers need to feel confident and taking the risk of sustainable production. Training on reducing pesticides, along with the idea that consumers prefer healthy products, is key to strengthening farmers' decision-making resilience and Climate change and soil quality degradation are also among the major challenges. Rising temperatures, depletion of water resources, and the decline in water and soil quality are also the key factors, as they are an increased risk to the survival of business themselves. And to finish, we need feel secure. Farmers need that our products are just selling value, informing the consumers so that can make informed choice will be a key step towards making this good practice more sustainable. And I believe that in Europe, there are more and more companies like ours. We live in a different time, and we have the opportunity to give our contribution to change agriculture. So it's our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bruno. That's a fascinating story you could tell us, and very interesting experiences. Thank you. We continue with another sharing of experiences, and for this I will be sharing my screen again. It will this time will also be a country starting with a P in Europe, this time Poland, and it is going to be shared. Let me first share it. Yes, is it visible this way? Yeah, I think so. It will be shared by Anna Kaskowiak. Yes, so I apologize, but it is going to be the story of somebody else who could unfortunately, because of family circumstances, not be here, but you will tell about this. Okay, the floor is yours and the control of the slides as well.
Thank you, sir. I just only see Bruno's presentation, not mine.
Yeah.
It should be the one by Bart.
Yeah, but if you could, you click, you should be able to.
Yes, but the presentation is not the one. Oh, yeah.
So here you go, this one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can you control it as well from your side? Yeah, it does work. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Wonderful.
Thank you. All right. Hello, everyone. Yes, this one. I'm Anna. I've been with IPMWORKS from day one, and I'm here to substitute for one of our most pioneer farmers in a Polish IPMWORKS network who, like Serb said, due to family issues, couldn't be with us. I will do my best to cover for him. So, My Farm Without Pesticides by Bart Piskorski, Polish farmer. Sorry, it's a little delayed. Yes, so the idea of Bart's farm is a combination of things: organic farming plus small food processing plus direct access to consumers plus being a demonstration farm and applying the from farm to fork strategy. Briefly about Bart's farm. The location is a village of Kołodziejewo in Kujawsko-Pomorskie region in Poland, which is more or less central Poland, with the area of 33.5 hectares and the medium and light soils. As for the crops, Bart has oil plants such as flax, black cumin, hemp, milk thistle, evening primrose, camelina, cereals, spelt, emmer, rye, oats, buckwheat, common wheat, legumes such as soybeans, lupine, peas, and vegetables, potatoes, beetroot. As for processing, he's doing cold pressed oils and flour. He has his own machinery for cultivation and harvesting, such as tractors, combine harvesters, seed drills, weeder, etc., and also his own machinery for processing, such as oil press, grain, and seed cleaning line. Why organic farming? I will skip this one. So, organic farming, Bart believes, is the most modern form of running a farm. as it requires the use of modern techniques of land cultivation to obtain high-quality agricultural products, ensuring food security without degrading the soil and leaving it in an unimpaired condition for future generations. Also, organic farming is the closest to the idea of from farm to fork, as organic products are a response to consumer needs. Cutting down on pesticides on Bart's farm. So this is what he said. The beginning was very difficult. He had no experience. He was very young. The machines he used were all of low efficiency. He couldn't handle the weeds. And for several years, he gained experience, invested in modern equipment. So basically, he started from educating himself, from searching. And thanks to that, he started to effectively limit the weeds. And the whole knowledge he gained also through different study visits helped him to design a good crop rotation system. Later on, joining also, IPMWORKS network allowed him to share the knowledge on both local and international levels. The main technology applied on the farm is mechanical weeding. I will not get deep into that now because we don't have that much time. A second. The cultivation of oil plants is what distinguishes this farm. Here you can see the photos from the cultivation of black cumin. For processing and direct sales. So processing is an action allowing to shorten the route to the consumer, which increases, of course, the farm's income. Cold pressing oil and grinding grain into flour is our way of life, Bart says. And they want the countryside to be associated with food production because it's here where it all begins. It all begins with the soil. And for direct sales, so the sales from the farm are conducted via the website during the fairs, festivals, also provided to the restaurants and also directly at the farm. You can see Bart here with his different products. Farm demonstrations, of course, so the farm organizes and takes part in different demo events and field trainings, both for guests from Poland and abroad. The one on the left-hand side that you can see here is one of our IPMWORKS demo events on Bart's farm. Cooperation in general, so the farm actively cooperates with farmers, universities, institutions, restaurants, media, and companies from Poland and abroad. So Bart is probably one of the most active farmers that I got to know so far. They participate in varied projects, such as IPMWORKS, sharing the field and products. Here in the picture, you can see Professor Tyburski from the University of Warmia and Mazury, which is northern eastern Poland. And here you can see soybean cultivation 2022. This was the joint research between Bart's farm and the university. Also media cooperation. So Bart is quite efficient at taking advantage of different channels such as TV, internet, press, newspapers, social media to promote pesticides reduction. So here you can see just a few screenshots, both from the internet press, farmer.pl, very popular in Poland, also from the regional television, and lastly, the newspaper. Knowledge exchanges, both the more and the less formal ones. So again, participating in demo events, trainings, conferences, study visits in Poland and abroad, being a very important element of the farm's development. Here in the pictures is all from our IPMWORKS story. So the two are from our cross visits to our partners in Germany, to James Kim Institute. And the last in the middle, there is the screenshot from our IPMWORKS arable sector training, where Bart was the presenter for the topic of mechanical weed control. Also, Bart is a part-time university teacher, as you can see on the right-hand side, the picture with his students. He also does trainings at agricultural schools. And the middle pictures that you can see are again from our cross visit to Germany. And I want to stress this very much, that this was a very successful exchange. And I'm not just saying that, but I'm getting the feedback from both from Bart and from other farmers that the exchanges both within the Polish group that came to the trip intensified afterwards. They support each other on ordering fertilizers, invite each other directly to their own demo events and so on. And Bart personally started when we visited Germany. He was advising one of the German farmers that we visited. He went straight away on the tractor to help them with some settings. And later on, he invited them over to come to his farm to Poland. The German group visited. Afterwards they decided to take Bart's advice and buy the new equipment, and also there is a plan for Bart to come over to them again and again help with the settings and setting up the machinery. So the exchange is real, like the real exchange, both on the local level and international level, which makes me very happy, I must say. So the path I have chosen, that's of course from Bart, is not an economic choice, but a calling. Not always the work that provides maximum profit will bring health, joy, and happiness in life. Fulfilling a calling is not always a bed of roses. It costs many sacrifices and struggles with challenges beyond our control. Still, I would not do it any other way. And I really know that he means it, because he's extremely devoted to the peer-to-peer exchanges. As you could see, he shares his knowledge and experience through so many different routes. And I hope it continues beyond, of course, also our project. You can reach Bart directly through his email, bartłomiejpiskorski@gmail.com. And of course, you can feel welcome to also contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was a really beautiful story. Thank you. A lot of information. And the last slide, I liked it very much. Also showing the motivation. That's an important part in all this. Thank you very much. We already heard some reference to demo hubs and the cross visits between demo hubs. So this is a good time to move to Jolien Claerbout's presentation. So Jolien, I've given you the slide control, so the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. During this 9 minutes presentation, I just want to answer 3 questions. So first question is, who am I? The second and the most important question is, how do I work as a hub coach? And then the third question is, what after IPMWORKS? So to start, who am I? Well, I'm Jolien Claerbout, and I live in Belgium. To be more precise, in West Flanders, and there I work for Inagro. It's an applied research station. So we do research and advice in agriculture and horticulture. There I work mainly in strawberries. But during this 4 years of this project, IPMWORKS, I also worked as a hub coach. So I worked with 11 farmers together that mainly grow strawberries in soil or in hydroponics or raspberries. Sometimes they also have other crops, but during my work as a hub coach and with this hub, we mainly focused on these crops. And then how do I work as a hub coach? Well, I work on 4 different levels. The first level is, of course, the hub. So the group of farmers. And what do? We decide on a program in the beginning of the year. And I really like the bottom-up approach. So really the ideas come from the farmers. They can decide on what they want to do. So they bring up the topics, and then we vote on which topics we will work on. And so we decide on a certain program. And then me as a hub coach, I facilitate by organizing these activities where we want to exchange knowledge. We also want to introduce research and practice. We also introduce ready-to-use IPM techniques that are often not really known or that can be used more in practice. Then the second level that I work on is the individual level. So with each hub member, I have contacts via, I have the one-to-one advice, so via phone, on the farm, via WhatsApp, email, or what is possible. And what I do, so I look really for IPM strategies that work on the farm itself, because IPM it's very complex, and you really have to look at the farm itself to implement the right IPM strategies. So I have that one-to-one advice. I also do some monitoring of IPM techniques. So I collect data that we then discuss with the group and so learn from each other from that. Then the next level I work on is also for the broader public. So what do? I organize demonstration events and I communicate about this holistic IPM, because it's very important that the knowledge doesn't stay within the group. The knowledge also needs to spread to other farmers or advisors or researchers, so everyone can implement better IPM strategies. And to give you just some ideas where we have worked on, it's for instance strawberry varieties or aphid control or the management of Drosophila Suzuki or the use of flying doctors. So these are just some examples that we have worked on. And then the last level that we have worked on is an international level that Nicola also already talked a little bit about. So thanks to the IPMWORKS project, we also had the exchange between all the different hub coaches, which is very inspiring. So we had different meetings or trainings, so we could exchange knowledge on the technical part of IPM techniques, but we got also trained in our soft skills. So how we can deal with the group and how can we improve these peer-to-peer learning. Next to that, we also had the chance to do cross visits. So for instance, with our farmers, we went to Finland where we could see, so we visited there a lot of different farms and we could really see how they grow soft fruits and vegetables and different vegetables to learn more about that. And then also the Finnish people last year, they came back to us, so they saw how it was in Belgium. Then another example is that with my group, I went to Wageningen University, to Bleeswijk, and there we saw some research on strawberries. So where we saw some more advanced techniques that some are maybe for the near future, but some are still a little bit further away. But it's very inspiring for pioneer farmers. Then I also collaborated in policy events. For instance, one member of me gave a talk in the European Parliament, which is a unique chance. And in that way, we also hope that showing really practical cases that they learn more about how it goes, or that we can give our voice about how it works in practice. And we hope that we can work inspiring in terms of policy. And then the last thing on the international level is that we also attend international symposia and conferences. For instance, I gave a poster presentations or oral presentations, so we can also share the knowledge that we had on the field on an academic an academic level. And another example is that one hub member also gave a talk on the final conference of IPM, so he could really show his own farm, and so we can have an impact on these different topics. And then my last question is, what after IPMWORKS? Luckily, we can continue on a regional level with our hub members because we found some funding, but also we see that the farmers, they still want to continue with working with these hubs because they see when they work together, they just achieve more than working alone. So we are not finished with these peer-to-peer learning. And still we are also with the whole consortium looking for a way to collaborate on an international level, because on the international level, you can even achieve more by exchanging knowledge and having this peer-to-peer learning. And so I finished my 3 questions. I believe there are still plenty of questions. I know there's a Q&A, but here you also have my contacts if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Jolien, and thanks for pointing out the Q&A once more. So please, if you have questions or even comments, things you'd like to bring up, do use the Q&A option. I heard talk about flying doctors, for instance. Maybe you want to ask about like, hey, what is this about? Or some other questions. So then let's continue with the next presentation by Joaquin Balduc about the various IPMWORKS channels for dissemination. Let me give you control. Yes, you have slide control. The floor is yours, Joaquin.
Thank you very much, Sirp. Thank you and welcome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. As Sirp mentioned, my name is Joaquin Balduque. I'm an agronomist at project manager at CIAM Zaragoza in Spain. CIAM Zaragoza is the Mediterranean Agronomic Institute of Zaragoza, the Spanish Institute of CIAM, which is the International Center for Advanced Agronomic Mediterranean Studies. And now it is time to share with you about the various IPMWORKS channels for dissemination. So let's start with something, sorry about that. Yeah, let's start with something that has been at the very core of the project, which is the on-site demonstration events. Something that is crucial for this project. As you can see in the table on the right side, which this table summarizes the total number of events carried out. We have had 22 hubs organizing a total of 250 events in the different agricultural sectors of the project. And here we want to show you one example of a highly successful field demonstration. In this case, this was an event showcasing an innovative sprayer with technology for selective weed recognition, able to reduce pesticide use by an impressive 85 to 95%. This is clearly an example of the IPMWORKS demonstration events, and which in this particular case successfully illustrated how this sprayer advanced technology can offer farmers in a viable method to significantly reduce chemical inputs while maintaining productivity. So another really important channel for dissemination within our project is the IPMWORKS Toolbox. This is an interactive online library of IPM resources designed for farmers and advisors, which includes alternative agronomic practices, decision support systems, case studies, economic analysis, training guides, and also links to past and current IPM initiatives. The toolbox, which is available in several languages, is built on an open source content management system and can be easily expanded to integrate resources from any IPM initiatives. Well, anyone can submit individual resources using a submission form. Projects can contact us to upload larger databases into the toolbox on request. We can also set up links with our ongoing platforms so that resources uploaded to one appear in both. For example, all the models in our sister project IPM Decisions platform are described automatically in the toolbox. So adding individual resources is quick and just one form needs to be filled in. And once submitted, resources are reviewed. And in case you have provided contact details, you will be informed on the decisions and or any further points to be edited. This is a preview of what the toolbox looks like and the search terms. You will be able to search by sector, country of origin, project, resource type, and in the advanced search, you can select specific pests, crops, or languages. So our search results appear initially as summary icons, indicating the resource type, country of origin, relevant sectors, and title. And clicking on one opens a new tab showing summary details. As shown here, there's always a short summary, as well as details on the relevant sectors, crops, pests, regions, details on where it was developed, and a find out more area with links to the original content provided and or downloadable resources if they were provided. So another channel for dissemination available in the toolbox is the IPMWORKS e-learning training modules, which have been prepared based on successful experiences within the project, as Nicola mentioned at the opening of this webinar, and in the framework of the training activities included in the project. So the elaboration of these modules has been coordinated by us from CIAM Zaragoza, but with the help of the participation of several IPMWORKS colleagues. These module packages can be adapted to specific needs and context, since they are divided in short chapters, enabling the access to specific chapters according to the needs and context of the module's users. These IPMWORKS learning modules have a dual function. Firstly, they have been used to carry out the specific training activities on IPM, both in the 16 countries at the consortium, as well as in 5 countries outside the project. And in addition to this, all the materials generated for the modules are openly accessible to the public and freely available through the IPMWORKS toolbox as mentioned. As you can see here, we have 8 modules with 46 chapters and 12 hours of video. Module 1 focuses on the concepts and theory of agroecosystems, including the holistic approach of IPM. Module 2 presents the plant health risk challenges and the policy context in the EU. Modules 3, 4, and 5 form like one block dedicated to what is called pests, so weeds, diseases, and invertebrates. Module 6 presents holistic IPM strategies in the 5 agricultural sectors. Module 7 deals with the assessments to be performed when redesigning systems to adopt more IPM. And Module 8 is dedicated to social skills and group coaching for advisors and collective coaching of farmers through peer-to-peer learning and in-farm co-innovation processes. When we get into each of these modules, we find a brief description of the content together with the list of chapters. These materials consist of, on the one hand, presentations reflecting the theoretical content and the selected resources for each theme. And on the other hand, recorded videos of the lectures of these presentations. And by clicking in each chapter, we will get to the description and content. This is just an example for you to see. In this case, is chapter 4.1, which is about current challenges in disease control, and how both the presentation slides and the recorded videos can be found. And last but not least, regarding the channels of dissemination, we of course have the IPMWORKS social media profiles for sharing news regarding demo events, videos, sharing dissemination materials and toolbox resources, as well as related projects and initiatives. As you can see in the slides, the statistics in terms of followers and impressions and engagement in both Twitter with more than 400 followers and LinkedIn with close to 900. And of course, the IPMWORKS YouTube channel in which we count with 7,000 views and more than 92,000 impressions, videos presenting hub coaches, IPM in a minute videos, interviews, daily learning modules, as well as IPMWORKS tutorials, and more can be found there in the channel. So this is all from my side. I would like to thank everyone for your attention, and if you have questions, I will be more than happy to answer that. And thank you, Sherp.
Thank you very much, Joaquin. That was a nice overview, and you already referred to IPM decisions. And we are going to hear a bit more about it from Mark Remsen, but let me use this opportunity again to point to the Q&A option. There are 3 more presentations. It's a long sit. It's a lot of information, but there's going to be a break, not too long from now. So please stay connected, and I will give the control to Mark in a moment. Yes, Mark, you have slide control, so the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So IPM Decisions has been mentioned a couple of times, and this was a sister project to IPMWORKS. So they were always designed from their conception by the Commission through to the way we approach them. They were always designed to work closely together. And in my 9-minute slot, I will give a quick overview of the platform, what it does, and how it's being used. So a bit of a delay there. Now, so there are effectively 2 approaches to reducing pesticide use, and in IPMWORKS, a lot of effort was focusing on the first of 2 steps, which was to reduce the need for pesticides by integrating non-chemical control measures. And that might be through a various integration of different approaches. Sometimes pesticides do need to be used, sometimes other treatments need to be applied, and those need to be applied according to the need of the crop, and they need to be timed as closely as possible to address the emergence of the pest at a vulnerable part of the life cycle. And this is where decision support systems come in. And decision support systems help us to understand how they model how the pest is developing, and that gives us an idea of when they might be appearing in the crop, and we can help to target monitoring, and we can target any treatments that might be needed. Joaquin's mentioned already that we developed the IPMWORKS toolbox, and you can find the IPM decision support system details within the toolbox, and they are linked together. So whenever we add a new system to the IPM Decisions platform, that will appear automatically in the toolbox. And that's using various links between the 2 platforms, and that's really underpinning how the IPM Decisions platform works overall. So this is the platform itself. Now, in my 9 minutes, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to give you a full tour, but this is the homepage. And before you even log in, you'll see that there are some risk maps that you can take a look at. And these give an overview of regions that may be at risk of 2 or 3 of the models forecast for 3 pests in Europe. If you want to look at these in more detail, and you should look at them in more detail before consulting them to make any decisions, you will need to log in. You need to register an account and log in and set up a farm so that the models can make forecasts for your particular location. And you can set up as many farms as you would like, and you can select as many of the models you can like. You do need to consider how valid they are for your region, because they will have been developed all over Europe. And really, that is one of the benefits of this platform, that it brings these models together into one place. Sorry, there's a delay on the. So just to kind of give you a bit of an insight into how the platform is working, what we have created is a digital framework infrastructure. And what it does is it allows us to link models that forecast pests with the data needed to run those models, wherever that model and wherever that data might be hosted. So the platform is linking those things together and providing the outputs for anywhere in Europe. This means we have an adaptive system so that when new models are developed by researchers, we can quite quickly integrate them into our infrastructure and make them accessible for farmers, advisors, policymakers, other researchers and developers. It also means that existing platforms that might already be doing national provision of DSS forecasts, of decision support system forecasts, they can use our resources and they can use link to models developed in other countries and much more quickly make them available to their users. And we've seen this is already starting to happen. So national systems in Norway, in Poland, and other EU projects are starting to use our resources to make these models more accessible in their countries. So once you log in, once you set up your farm, and this is where I'm sat, ADAS Boxworth in the UK. You select the models that you're interested in, and then you can start to see which models are forecasting a risk for you right now. In this example, you can see that one model is flagged up as red, indicating there might be a risk associated with pollen beetle where I am. And you can click into that and see more details on what that risk means. In this case, it's saying that migration may occur over the next few days, and that is a risk that I should be looking for. You can see some guidance on the right. And if you look at the top where it says pollen beetle model and the little I, if you click on that, then you'll see more detail about where this model came from, what it means, what assumptions should be considered, and where you can get further information. The idea being that you might want a very quick idea of what the risks are, but you might also want to dig in and get a bit more detail on what that risk means, and all that information is available to you. So I'd encourage you to take a look. I've put a link into the chat already, and hopefully you'll be able to see there's some useful resources for you anywhere in Europe there, and it is something that we will continue to grow. I just wanted to have a quick reflection on what this means in practice. And if we take a very hypothetical, very simplistic idea of an advisor who's working with two farmers, and these farmers are quite different in their approaches. So the first farmer has a very advanced strategy. They're not using many pesticides. They like using technology. They like testing new ideas, and they're interested in novel approaches. The second farmer has quite a limited IPM strategy. They're using a lot of pesticides. They want to reduce risk, but they're keen on reducing their inputs as well. They just don't want to compromise their yield. And these are very extreme examples, and I'm not suggesting these to reflect any real examples, but they just give you an idea of two very different approaches that an advisor might be faced with. Now, working with that second farmer, it might be worth just picking out one particular challenge. Maybe pollen beetle is a good example, that they're very used to putting something, an insecticide on, and using the model to help drive that discussion about where there might be opportunities to avoid applying a particular insecticide because the risks are low, and they can quantify that risk using the platform. In the other example, the first farmer who's already got quite an advanced approach, well, there it might be worth using the platform to get a bigger discussion about, across all these pests, where are there opportunities to do things differently? And perhaps there are opportunities to look at particular models and make comparisons about what's going on, which is something we can do in the platform. It might be worth looking into that detail and using that as a way of discussing different opportunities and where biopesticides, for example, might fit in. And it might be that takes it across to further discussion as well. So these are very different approaches that both are supported through the platform, but we wouldn't necessarily expect to see an immediate change in pesticide use in either example within 1 year. So the decision support systems are there driving discussion, they're driving changes in approach, but we would expect those impacts to perhaps take a few years before we saw huge changes in pesticide application, even at these extreme ends of pesticide use. We often talk about this transition from a total reliance on pesticides to a fully adopted advanced IPM strategy, in the idea that there is this kind of marching along through time. But the reality is that there are lots and lots of different ways of getting there, and there are lots of different approaches that can be taken. So the decision support systems that are on the platform are part of that discussion and part of helping understand what the challenges are for pest management, where are the opportunities, where are the areas that need a bit more attention, and how to target that monitoring, how to target decisions effectively. So we're still building on growing that collection of decision support systems, and we're still developing case studies and examples of where these systems are shown to have demonstrable effects. And that's something that we will be releasing in the coming weeks on some case studies of decision support systems in use alongside other IPM strategies. We really wanted to, in the IPM Decisions project, improve access to IPM decision support systems, and that's something that we've achieved through the IPM Decisions platform. But we do recognise that those systems are often only being formally validated in quite specific circumstances. So there's more work to do to validate these systems in different countries, to address some of the barriers to uptake, and to make sure that we are, as we have been doing through IPMWORKS, demonstrating the benefits of using these systems among other IPM strategies. I've kind of touched on the main part of IPM decisions, but there's also a lot of other work we've done developing how we can evaluate decision support systems, how we can assess the barriers to adoption, and how we can improve things in the future. So there's lots more publications available. There's a list of them in this slide, and there's also some links to the software, because the platform itself is all open source now. You can go in and see the code, you can use that code, you can develop off the back of the APIs. I'm not expecting you to look at all this right now, but it's there in the slides that will be made available after today. So if you're interested in more of the developer side of accessing these systems, please do get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. It was useful to hear about the importance of the diversity and needed guidance, and also the long-term approach. This is not something that applying IPM something of a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, but a longer term need for support. Thank you. We continue with the last, a bit longer presentation, after which Nicola will kind of wrap things up. I would like to give the floor to Angela Muniz, who will share recommendations that came forth from our work with the IPM networks. Angela, the floor is yours, and you have slide control.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to present the recommendations for successful exploitation of the IPM networks to scale IPM adoption. This work is part of the IPMWORKS project and the Work Package 1, which focuses on approaches, methods, and lessons for the development of IPM demo networks. In particular, in the task 5 of this Work Package, we have focused on gathering the key recommendations for the various stakeholders involved in the IPM context. This means farmers, advisors, researchers, education, governance actors. Our goal was to identify the essential factors that enable a more effective and successful exploitation of the IPM networks, while also encouraging the scalability of IPM measure adoption. Okay, so in our process, identifying the final recommendations involve multiple filters and validation process among the different actors involved in the project. We first identified the barriers related to the implementations of the IPM measures within the pre-existing networks participating in the project. And we also analyze the self-assessment of the different farmers involved in the hubs of the project. And finally, we also organize different workshops at national and European level to be able to gather these recommendations. So this led us to finalize our recommendations, which are reflected in 7 key areas that are shared here on the screen and that I will try to explain very quickly. These recommendations are part of a deliverable which has more than 70 pages, so summarizing in 9 minutes is going to be very tricky, but I encourage you to consult this public deliverable that will be available on the Cordis website of the project and also on the website of the IPMWORKS project. So all these 7 recommendations areas share a common key aspect. Is the active involvement of actor networks within the IPMWORKS context and their essential engagement and interaction to ensure the successful scalability of IPM measures. For this reason, we place special emphasis on the role of the hub and the hub coach as essential elements in strengthening these actor networks. They serve as a central connection point where knowledge transfer and peer exchange take place among the various stakeholders within the hub. So to ensure a strong and effective and sustainable hub formation that truly makes an impact, there are 3 key elements that arise. First, when these hubs are created, collaboration is essential. So it's important that farmers are able to meet regularly and that they are close to each other. So this is really a crucial factor because it's the only way that they will be able to share knowledge and tackle common challenges and be able to support each other. This not only improves farming practices, but also strengthens the sense of community and collaboration among the farmers of the group. Second, it's very important for the hub to be truly impactful. We need a clear long-term common vision of the group. This was also explained by Jolene before. For these events or this group to be successful, clear goals must to be established, keeping events meaningful and consistent, and adapting those events to the needs of the farmers of the group. But doing so, farmers or these hubs are able to enhance the skills and maintain engagements while promoting IPM in a lasting way. Finally, encouraging IPM adoption requires also to highlight its long-term environmental benefits. Recognizing farmers' efforts and leverage the growing awareness of sustainability will also help to drive its implementations. When farmers see both the ecological and practical advantages of the practices they are putting forward, they will be more likely to adopt those practices. Then connectivity is also a clear crucial part of in order to build strong connections and to foster resilient and sustainable agricultural networks. by prioritizing direct communication and leveraging local groups, collaborating with advisory service, and creating opportunities for cross-country engagement, we can strengthen the exchange of knowledge and best practice within the farming community. Personal and direct communications with farmers and hub members is essential for trust building. And when we engage in one-on-one conversations, we create a safe space for farmers to share their challenges, express their interests, and this approach fosters strong relationships and ensures that assistance is relevant and effective. And for creating this involvement, it's what is needed really to speak with the members of the hub and ask for their connections, and if they are already participating in other networks, to involve all these actors together in a way that we are more efficient. Also, Jolene pointed out that these cross-country and cross-sectoral events that were part of the IPM project were opportunities very high valued by the members of the hub as a very useful tool for learning and to learn from diverse problem-solving approach. This event help broaden perspective, strengthen the international networks, and promote open sharing, thus reducing also the competition while fostering collaboration on shared agricultural challenges. It has been proved that this was one of the favorite exchange actions within the IPMWORKS project by all the farmers involved. So to implement everything mentioned in the previous sections, it's an effective facilitation. It's really crucial. The hub coach needs to be able to also manage and promote the long-term sustainability of the hub. In this context, the concept of trust emerged frequently. Actors emphasize that they need to have a high level of trust in both the group and the person managing it in order to feel aligned with the collective and to feel freely share information and knowledge without barriers. For this reason, significant efforts are required from the hub coach to create an environment where being a moderator is more than important than being a leader among the group, and the coach should be seen as an integral member of the network with a well-known track record that fosters trust among the participants.
Could you round off the presentation?
Yes. So the IPMWORKS demo events were also considered as a key tool for creating this knowledge exchange and facilitation and building this trust among the hub members and fostering the knowledge fostering the knowledge among the farmers. Then it was also identified that the barriers to approach some political aspects and economic concerns of the farmers involved in the group. It was recommended to involve local government and regionals, so to mitigate production loss from IPM measures, for instance. And then it's always cultural considerations must be taken into consideration as well. And finally, training and education also must be taken into consideration. So addressing the educational gap in IPM as part of the capacity programs, engagement of the agri-food chains and consumers to advance IPM adoption, and also try to make efforts to bring technology closer to the farmers involved in these practices. And well, that's it. Kind of sorry for the delay.
No, thank you very much, Angela, for sharing these recommendations. As the participants, not all may have seen the note in the chat that the microphones will not be opened, so please do share your questions in the Q&A section. And then for last just few minutes, that's not going to be a long presentation, I will hand over to Nicola once more. So Nicola, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Serge. Just a few words to conclude this series of presentations from IPMWORKS colleagues. Just from the previous presentations, you have seen the activities in IPMWORKS during those 4 years. We insisted a lot on the methodological aspects of working with farmers to foster IPM adoption. We had some testimonies of 2 farmers, both showing their interest and motivation for IPM, but also giving a few technical aspects of IPM in their farm. We discussed about cultivars, mulching, biocontrol solutions, mechanical weeding in Poland, and so on. And also we have seen very quickly the mapping of IPM solutions that Meta presented at the EU level. Of course, it's quite difficult to go into details of all IPM techniques in a short webinar like this, because I have to insist on something, which is that IPM is highly sector specific. The solutions are not the same in vineyards, arable field crops, orchards, and so on. And even IPM solutions are highly farm specific. One solution which is functioning in one farm might not be functioning in one another. This makes the role of our work to help farmers to find the proper solutions so important. So the IPMWORKS is arriving at its end, but clearly still there is some work to be done. In 2025, probably European farmers will still use a lot of pesticides to control their weeds, their pests, and their diseases in the farms. But IPMWORKS has made the proof of concepts of how to help farmers find solutions. We would like the IPMWORKS network to continue after the end of the H2020 project. And we would like IPMWORKS not only to continue, but to expand a lot, because we made the proof of concept, but we would like to have about 300 hubs, meaning about 4,000 farmers throughout Europe in all regions of Europe. So we would like to continue with the 22 hubs that were launched during the project, and we would like to continue with the 5 national networks. But we would like, more importantly, welcome new hubs, and including hubs that were launched in different regions of Europe from other initiatives. We made a survey within IPMWORKS at the end of the project, asking to the hub coaches how they find it important to continue and have a European network at the EU level to continue the work undertaken by IPMWORKS. And you can see here the results. about the two-thirds of the more than two-thirds of the hub coaches, they stated that it would be important or extremely important to continue with a European network of hub coaches or of hubs to continue the work. So we would like to continue. And we produced during the course of the project, we produced the documents proposing a strategy for long-term sustainability of this network. This strategy would be based on two main points. First of all, which is about the funding of this network, which is an important aspect. So the first point is the self-funding of each hub. With a budget to pay for the salary of the hub coach and for the functioning and eventually for rewards to farmers. And the idea for this is to try to attract cap funding dedicated to farm demo whenever possible. And we have seen a number of hubs who declared at the end of the project that they would find some budget locally to continue the work started during the project. But we need also a budget for the coordination of the network at the EU level. We need to keep with a coordinating team, defining the working plan, organizing capacity building of hub coaches, organizing peer-to-peer knowledge exchange with annual meetings of hub coaches, organizing communication, organizing the data collection in the farms, the data analysis, and the production of results based on this network. And we don't need a lot of money for this, but still we need some funding. And I must say that so far we have not been able to find the funding solutions to fund this coordination of the network during the next years. So we will, after the end of the project, we will continue our efforts to find some solutions. We will try to keep in touch with the IPMWORKS partners. We would like to organize a cost action to be able to have annual meetings of the partners and to organize training courses and so on. And this hopefully will give us the opportunity to find solutions to find this coordination of the networks, to continue the work and expand the network. And that's it for my side for the future of IPMWORKS. And I think that now I'll give you back the floor, sir, for the final Q&A session. Yep, your microphone is off, sir.
Apologies. Yeah, so that means that I will give the floor to Calypso to guide the Q&A. Calypso,
okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. We have quite a few questions in the Q&A section. So looking at the different votes also of the question, the first one would be directed to Jolien, and we can maybe extend it also to Bruno after the first answers of Jolien, which is, well, if your group has inspired through the different events you were talking about other farmers to adopt holistic IPM, and how did you manage to touch or reach out to these farmers, and did it enable practice changes? So maybe Jolien, if you want to answer this question, and maybe afterwards we'll go to Bruno for a further question.
Yeah, I'm really convinced that we inspired other farmers and that are not within the hub. It is thanks to demonstration events that are for the broader public, because when they are seeing IPM techniques that are implemented on another farm, let's say seeing is believing. That is the thing that you should keep in mind. But not everyone attends these demonstrations. So there is always still a group of farmers that you can't reach with these demonstrations. But however, I strongly believe, however it's difficult to monitor, is that the hub itself, every farmer has its own network also. So they also have an impact when they are talking or discussing about certain IPM techniques.
So maybe this paves the way to Bruno, because we've seen that you're quite advanced in your reflection on your practices. Have you also seen? Have you inspired other farmers? How did it work in your case?
I think yes. I think I inspire other farmers. I look for my farm is located in a small village. We and have maybe 10 families like my family, and I see change in our neighbors. Not all. Many farmers I think don't have acknowledgement and don't have a sense. This is so important for our future, the future of our sons, our children. This change, and so don't try. But I see farmers in Portugal have hope and have and try change something.
Okay, thank you, Bruno. Maybe to go back to also this all this facilitation in a group, Yolene, there was a question whether maybe the knowledge that was gathered in IPMWORKS could also be used in other projects and other topics such as climate change. And do you perceive that maybe the facilitating a hub can be used on other topics, and how would you see that?
I definitely believe that the knowledge gathered is very important and can be used to see future effects. For just giving an example from Belgium, Finland, like here in Belgium, we already have to fear the Drosophila suzuki for several years. For Finland, it's something more new, but with climate change, we believe that this pest can spread even further. And with the exchange of Finland, they had really a lot of questions about the Drosophila suzuki, where we could already give some advice of, for instance, how to monitoring, how to recognize, and so on, or some little management strategies that could be used. So definitely, because you have the European level, you have the north, the south, you can definitely exchange knowledge and learn from each other, also with the perspective of climate change. But how could this be done? Yeah, that's a difficult question. Maybe someone else has a good answer on that.
Well, it also shows that these topics are intertwined. So if we're talking about integrated pest management, so just to clarify, we also include weed management for the question that was included in the question and answers. But it also goes to other problems such as climate change, as you were pointing out on the problem with the Drosophila suzuki. So maybe this is a broader question, and although we're talking about IPM, we touch other subjects. Nicholas, you wanted to react also?
Yes, if I may, on this topic, important topic of the relationship between IPM and the mitigation of climate change. I think it's a very important question, because in some cases, it could be viewed as a kind of antagonism between IPM and mitigation of climate change. I will give you an example. In arable field crops, soil tillage is something which is used by organic farmers because plowing is a way to manage the seed bank of the weeds. Mechanical weeding is a kind of soil tillage. Fall seed bed is also a technique that is used to manage weeds, and all this might be antagonistic with the question of carbon storage, even though this is highly debated in the scientific community, and it is a little bit antagonism with the trend to ask the farmer to reduce soil tillage for the soil health and also to increase carbon storage. And for me, it's a very important question for the future about how to reconcile the question of IPM, especially the question of weed management and the question of mitigation of the climate change. So yeah, I wanted to insist on this.
Thank you, Nicholas. And just to point out, in France, we have a network of farmer groups. So the same kind of work that is done in hubs, but that can be applied on other subjects such as climate change. So it's also possible to use the same kind of facilitation techniques and group hub method to tackle different subjects. Just to go also, because we are running out of time and we have a lot of questions and we'll try to answer them directly after the webinar. Also, we have also concerns regarding maybe the future of IPMWORKS regarding first all the resources. So there was a question regarding if these resources will stay available and for how long. So how is it managed? So maybe Mark, if you have any information to give to these participants. And another one is to Nicholas, maybe which kind of CAP funding would you point out to fund the future of the hubs? So Mark.
Thank you. Yeah, this question of how we keep things going beyond the end of the project, we were very conscious of that really throughout. So the toolbox and the resources hosted on it, we've tried to make sure that the framework around it requires as little maintenance as possible. It was designed to do that. So while we don't have any funds in place to explicitly maintain the toolbox, it will require quite a low amount of attention to do that, and we will keep that going. And we will try and fit it into future initiatives to update it as we go along. The way it's designed means that we can quite easily link it with other databases. We can quite easily extract all the resources and put them into other databases. So if another project came along and said, well, actually, we want to use the toolbox, we want to pull out some things from the toolbox, that's quite straightforward. So they're certainly going to be available through our toolbox, and I would hope other projects will start to use the toolbox, or at least the resources associated with it. The same goes for the IPM Decisions platform. We designed it so that everything is open source, and even if, and we're not going to, but even if we turn the whole thing off, we can start it all up again quite easily, because it's all open source and available to reinitiate afterwards. So that's our main approach, and then we will get follow-on projects, we hope, to expand the content and expand the functionalities as we go forward.
Thank you, Mark. Nicholas, maybe if you want to answer this last question.
On the question of the CAP funding, in the new CAP, there are some funding dedicated to farm demonstration for sustainable agriculture. Those fundings are managed by local public bodies such as member states or even regions. The one issue is that those public bodies, very often they have already their own plans to make use of these CAP fundings for farm demonstrations. The plan would be to go to those public bodies and say, why not using these fundings to fund 1, 2, 3 groups of farmers affiliated to IPMWORKS in your region. So this is our plans, to go to those public bodies. But for this, we first need to have some funding for the European level coordination. So we will do this we will go to those public bodies as soon as we have found a solution for the coordination at the EU level.
Thank you, Nicholas. If we want to make a short break, sorry, we might not have all the questions. Just to have a short answer regarding maybe the increase in IPM techniques in Europe. We don't have, of course, this data in the project, but we see that within the farmers of the hubs, there was an increase in the testing and adoption of some practice changes that go forward in IPM. So it's also a great result of the projects. And of course, the IPM principles can also be applied when not using any pesticides, because these are global principles, and this can be applied also to organic farming. And of course, even if we're talking about biocontrol, other authorized products in organic farming, we can apply these kind of principles. And we had in the project some groups that were also organic. So this is a short answer, and we'll try to give more answers within the tool. And let's take a 5 minutes break, so we come back at 4 to continue on this second interactive workshop. So see you in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
So, welcome back, everyone. I would be really grateful if someone could confirm that my screen can be seen and in a proper presentation mode. I see you, Hilde, putting your thumb up, so thank you very much. So, well, let's take it back this session, and thank you very much, everyone, for being there. And yes, this is the part of the webinar dedicated to an interactive workshop on policies to promote holistic IPM. And interactive means that we expect to interact with the audience connected to the session. So we really encourage you to participate by making suggestions on possible policies to foster the general adoption of holistic IPM, and also to have a discussion, a debate on those suggestions. So we have had interesting debates during the IPMWORKS policy events carried out in the lifetime of the project. So we are sure that it will be the same this afternoon. So we count on you, on the audience, for the interaction and the debate. So let me just take a couple of minutes to explain how we are going to deal with this workshop. We're going to start having the presentation from our colleague Hilde Bustenbergs from the Flemish Institute ILBO. Hilde is going to make a presentation based on the IPMWORKS policy recommendations elaborated during the project. And the objective of the workshops is to have a brainstorming and discussion about policies, possible policies to foster the general adoption of holistic IPM. So both during and after Hilde's presentation, we are going to use the Mentimeter tool to collect ideas from you, from the audience. So based on the policy recommendations presentation, we expect you to contribute with suggestions from your side about these possible policies, okay? And then after the presentation and the collection of ideas from you, we will have a couple of minutes for voting for the preferred suggestions, okay? And then the 3 most voted suggestions will be used to have an open discussion and debate. We will ask the persons who contributed with the most voted suggestions to briefly present their ideas in 2 minutes maximum, and we will have then an open discussion and debate about them. So as mentioned, we are going to be using Mentimeter with the QR code you can see in the screen, or with the link we be put in the Zoom chat by one of my colleagues, or directly introducing the code in the Mentimeter website portal. And there you will be able to contribute with your suggestions about these possible policies to foster IPM adoption. And those suggestions will be then voted by all the audience. And as I mentioned, the 3 most voted ones will be used for the open discussions. The persons who have contributed with the most voted suggestions will be asked to briefly present the ideas I mentioned, but everyone will be also invited to raise the hand using the Zoom adjustments for that, and express themselves to do on these suggestions and the ideas to, as I mentioned, to have an open debate on them. So this is it for the presentation of the methodology for the workshop. I hope it is clear to everyone. And we, as I mentioned, we count on your participation. So I stop here and give the floor to our colleague Hilde Bustenberg from ILBO. You are muted, Hilde.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
That did give me the time to just share this short presentation on the policy recommendations that we did based on the findings of IPMWORKS. And I first like to take you back a little step. Why IPMWORKS did all these efforts, and well, we want to do it because the goal is healthy crops in a healthy environment. And as said, we want to produce food for all. There needs to be sufficient food for all the citizens in the EU, but farmers need to earn a decent living from it. They need an income from producing the food. And also because of their fear of of yield loss and fear of losing income, they still rely more heavily than necessary on pesticide use. So that we want to reduce that so that the environmental and the human health can be increased. The IPMWORKS contribution to that was that we showed that, and I hope that was clear from the first part of the workshop, that holistic IPM indeed works, and that the IPM demo hub approach also works. So we want to continue to advance holistic IPM practices through the IPM demo approach. However, both of them could use some extra support from policy. And first, on the holistic IPM itself, it needs continuous innovation. As said before, there's a climate change that brings in new pests, weeds, etc. And definitely not everything on holistic IPM is known yet. So please do continue to support research on IPM. And that is, of course, technical research, technical solutions. We think about natural habitats for the predators, etc. The decision support tools have been amply mentioned. But next to those, we need also a good assessment methods for IPM, and Mette showed us that not all of them are compatible at the moment, so there's a little research needed there. And then economic stimuli for IPM is also an item for further research. Mitigating farmers' risk aversion, of course, is a very important point. Fear of yield loss was mentioned. The workload was also mentioned by Bruno, and there some support could be needed for the actual implementation of holistic IPM. So things we were thinking about were maybe an insurance mechanism against yield loss for the very early adopters, those who can show that IPM actually works to their peers. Maybe subsidize some of the techniques, like I mean, the mechanical weeders were shown. The picture here shows, I think this is from Bruno's farm actually, the strips, the natural habitats in between the lettuces. So those could be important to finance. Some countries already do, but very interesting to expand. And then a third one, as Nicolas already mentioned, engaging consumers in paying a higher price could also be important. So maybe we should think about a label on IPM, high level IPM produce, things like that. And then a third one, and I think that was also already amply shown by the previous presenters, we need to stimulate real-life testing. Real-life testing with farmers, as Jolien said, seeing is believing, and even more important, maybe experiencing is believing. So we need these real life-size demonstrations about about the techniques that they work, and more importantly, even that the economic aspects of the IPM strategies can also be shown in situ. Next to that brings us very easily to the demo hub approach, because of course there seeing was believing. And we did show in the project that peer-to-peer learning actually does work. Learning from peers is a lot more easily to believe for farmers than learning from scientists. So please do create opportunities, policymakers, to well, maintain and expand the hub approach. As Nicolas said, there are opportunities within the CAP for funding them. They're foreseen under Article 78, actually. And everyone here, I can just call upon you to go to the local authorities and ask them to actually put those in. Another type of opportunity is for the farmers themselves. For the farmers themselves to have the opportunity, or incentives rather, to take part in the hub approach. And maybe a simple approach to an incentive could be to make their active participation a form of fulfilling the mandatory training on certification for pesticides. Then the second need for the hubs, I think Jolien and the others, Angela, thank you for that. You both showed that the hub coaches are really essential and pivotal within the working of the hubs. So yes, as already mentioned, please invest in the hub coaches. They have a lot of tasks in a hub. They need to be knowledgeable about the techniques, but they also need to have facilitation skills. So maybe first finance their salary, and secondly, do invest in their skills as well, in their capacity building. First, of course, this facilitation skills, these soft skills could be an item in the usual training of engineers, but also beyond that, networking is a very crucial thing there, also for the hub coaches. And that brings me to the final item I wanted to highlight here, the international exchange, already mentioned by Anna, by Bart, by Jolien, by Angela, and by Nicholas. So I think it was shown that international exchange can speed up the dissemination of techniques of knowledge throughout Europe. And therefore also there, as Nicholas already emphasized, maintaining and growing the network needs some funding, both internationally and nationally. And that is funding, first of all, for the hub coaches, but also as shown for things like cross visits of farmers. And Jolien actually told us about a very nice example of Finnish farmers learning in Belgium how to go about the control of the Drosophila Suzuki. Another nice example I heard about was the Belgians learning about weed control in Denmark, where the soil herbicides that Belgium still largely counts on is already banned for quite a while in Denmark. So that's how they do that, is something that could be learned from international exchange. So all these things you can read about again in 2 policy briefs that we prepared. Actually, the 6 highlights I showed here are only 6 out of 11 policy recommendations that we distilled from our networks and our holistic IPM approach. These policy briefs will be available to you through the website shortly, and I think they will also be shared with all the participants. And then again, I would like to urge you again, those policy briefs are only 2 of the numerous results and tools that are available. So again, please consult the website for videos, deliverables, booklets, trainings, etc. And please do find techniques on the toolbox. That was it for my brief view of our policy recommendations. And the floor is again yours, Joaquin, for the rest of the group to participate on the policy recommendations.
Thank you very much, Hilde. That was really interesting, and there was a huge amount of work behind that. those policy recommendations during the whole project. So yeah, it was really good to see your presentation. Thank you very much. And well, as explained before, it is now time for contributions from the audience. So you can access to Mentimeter with the QR code we already showed before, or with the link in the Zoom chat. You can access to the link in the Zoom chat, and you can make there your suggestions about policies to foster general adoption of holistic IPM. We have our colleague Beatriz Cardoso from Consulai really kindly moderating the contributions in the Mentimeter tool. And we would love to see, if possible, Beatriz, the screen on the Mentimeter, because we already have some suggestions in there. And as explained before, your suggestions will be voted by all the audience, and the three most voted ones will be used for the open discussions, and the persons who have contributed to the most voted suggestions will be asked to briefly present the ideas. So please, as mentioned, raise your hand using the option in Zoom at the bottom of your screen to ask for the floor. And the same way, everyone will be also invited to raise the hand via Zoom and express themselves on these suggestions, because as we mentioned, the idea is to have an open debate on that. So please access to Mentimeter and do make your suggestions. We have 5 minutes to do so. And while you keep on enter your suggestions, we are going to play a video from our colleagues from Slovenia, the Institute of Agriculture and Forestry, Maribor. So thank you, Beatriz, for sharing that. And maybe we can now have the screen from Nicola to play this video during these 4 or 5 minutes while everyone is making suggestions in Mentimeter. So that was our video. It seems that we had some issue with the audio, but hopefully you were able to check how our Slovenian colleagues are implementing IPM. So that's what we want to keep on this discussion with all of you. Okay, I think that now it is time to vote. It would be great if we could have the Mentimeter in the screen again, please, Beatrice, if possible. So I guess we could have checked that we have several suggestions, really nice ones. So yeah, as mentioned, it is now the time to vote. So please check those suggestions in the portal and start voting for the ones that you like the most by clicking on the thumbs up icon, and we will be checking how that is going. And as I mentioned, we are going to enable to have the mics open in this part of the webinar for audience to intervene and to express about these suggestions. And we are going to ask you to raise your hand using the option in Zoom to ask for the floor, and we will have you to present your ideas and express, and to have this, as we mentioned, this open discussion. So let's take a couple of minutes for voting. And as I mentioned, if you want to intervene, please raise your hand. We are having our colleague Alice Lauren to very kindly manage that. So yeah, and I think that whenever you want, Beatrice, we can check how the voting process is going. Okay.
I don't think that we had votes, so maybe we can repeat the process.
Yeah.
I believe we didn't have enough time to vote.
Yeah, maybe we
go through
can
the suggestions.
yeah, that was maybe too fast. Yeah. We can restart the vote again. Yeah. So please go ahead and vote for your preferred ones. Yeah. And yeah, please don't be ready to interact and to ask for the floor, raise your hand, so we can have this interactive discussion. As I mentioned before, we have several political debates during the lifetime of the project, and we have really interesting discussions with the audience, with different stakeholders. So yeah, I think that we can have a really nice discussion during this second part of the webinar and before the close. So yeah, one person voted. So yeah, and two of them, this is getting up. Okay, that's great. And yeah, the persons who want to intervene, please raise your hand, and it will be great to have you exposing your ideas that you have suggested, and also to anyone that would like to express on the suggested topics. Okay, we are having 14 and zooming. Okay, and 15. I think that we can just give some seconds more, and we can go and check how the picture is going. Great. I think that we have more than 20 votes. So Beatrice, what do you think? Can we check how this is looking? Great. Thank you very much, Beatrice, for all of that. And it seems we have already, Mentimeter is already pointing a popular one. Yeah, so okay, let's do this and check and select the most voted ones. And yeah, and Alice is telling me that when someone is raising the hand, we will see how we can give you the floor. So good. So the first and most voted question is about labeling. So and the suggestion is about creating a label pesticide to inform consumers about how much PPP were used and provide premium prices to farmers who succeed in reducing plant protection products inputs. Yeah, we can discuss about this, but I will ask the person who contributed with this suggestion to try to expose this idea. I see, Nicola, that you are opening your camera. I was assuming that that could be coming from you. So
Indeed, it was me.
yeah, please go ahead and expose
Okay,
this.
so
this suggestion. Yeah.
I'm very happy that this suggestion was highly voted, because I think it's indeed something which is important to promote IPM in Europe. The idea here is that very often when we work with farmers, we understand that the technical solutions are often there, not always there, but often there, but they are not used by the farmers for two reasons. One reason is that implementing IPM is more complex for the farmers. And the second reason is that there is no financial incentive. They do not send the products with higher prices, with premium prices, when they do some efforts to reduce pesticide use. And I think this was mentioned by Bruno in his testimony, that it would be important to engage consumers, to let them know about the conditions of production. And I think there are many consumers that would be happy to support farmers that are doing efforts for more sustainable agriculture, but they cannot, because they do not have the information. So the question is to provide the information to the consumer through a label like a pesticide score based on a full traceability of pesticide use. For example, a pesticide score on a scale from A, no pesticide, to F, high amount of pesticides. So the farmer can have the information and make the choice and buy preferentially those products with a low pesticide use. And this would provide some premium price for the farmers, the European farmers, that do some efforts. And last thing I would like to share with you is that in my mind, this would be a way to protect the European farmers from this unfair competition of non-European agricultures who have less constraints on the use of pesticides, because the products imported in Europe would be either be able to present the traceability of the pesticide use and have also a pesticide score, or if they are not able to have this traceability, they would be imported with the highest pesticide score, the worst value of pesticide score. So they would not be chosen by the consumers who are engaged in the process. So I think it's really a policy that could change a lot the agriculture in Europe. So I would be happy to have some comments about this initiative, this idea.
Thank you, Nicola. Yeah, we would love to see some reactions from the audience. So please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Yeah, I think that we have someone, Corentin Barbu. I think that Alice maybe. Yeah, Corentin. I think you can express. Yeah,
Hi.
Your mic is open. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Corentin Barbu. I'm from the INRAE. And I agree with Nicolas Minijoulin that having something that is not biasing, furthermore, the competition with other farmers is an important thing. But I actually think that increasing the cost of using PPPs through a pesticide taxes could be something like that if it's a redistributed tax. We could perfectly have something a tax that is based on the amount of products sold as usual, and then redistribute these tax to all the farmers based on for example, the hectares. That would penalize the ones who use a lot of pesticide without adding an additional bias for imported compared with imported products. And it's something I've not seen, I think, in your propositions, but I think it's a potentially very powerful tax. It has to be balanced with issues of having not the same amount of pesticides used in different types of productions. So it has to be think through a little bit, but I think it's a very important way to go forward also for IPM. Thank you.
Thank you, Corentin. Nicolas, would you like to react on that? Can I imagine, Corentin, that
Just one word on this. I understand the point. My feeling is that we had some protests of many farmers recently, and probably it will be more difficult for the farming community to accept some tax, even though the tax is redistributed. But still, there would be some administrative burden, administrative constraints to apply this tax. And probably the farmers will not be happy to have this additional administrative constraints for a tax that some of them they will not be able to recover at the end. So probably my feeling is that they would be more prone to accept a system with maybe some more complexity, but going with some profitability coming from the market, because the vision, many farmers, the vision they have of their role in the society is to be engaged in the market, to feed people, and probably it will be more acceptable for the farmers. I suppose so.
Thank you, Nicolas. Hilde, would you like to react on that? I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I would just think that both systems would need exactly the same administrative burden. Because in both cases, you would need to register your pesticide use quite exactly.
Sure, but it's more the same burden is more acceptable if it is rewarded by the market than if it is for the administration and the tax system and so on. Probably, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. It's true that the thing about the labeling has been raised several times during discussions across the project, and not only from the inside of the consortium, but also from the outside. I remember the policy seminar that we performed in Brussels in the European Parliament mid of January this year, and we have this suggestion coming from the MEP Dorfman about the labels, and yeah, there's always something in there, and also consumers should be kind of educated or trained on how to interpret the information and to help them to make their choices, and that's clear. We have also a hand raised from Miriam Gaspard. Miriam, I think that you should normally be able to open your mic now.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yes. One. There is a risk about too much label, because we will have a label about environmental issues, including pesticide, biodiversity, and so on. And if we have too many different labels, we saw that there is a confusion for the consumer. Then the most important for me is that we can have confusion about this kind of label, because we will have also environmental labeling, including pesticide, but also biodiversity and other key indicators in this environmental issue.
Thank you, Miriam. Yeah, that's true. That's probably one of the reasons we insist that the consumers should also be kind of educated or training on how to not to get lost with too much information, which is never something bad. But yeah, probably the simpler the better for labeling. That's for sure. Mette, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, just saying that it's already different among the European countries, because in Denmark we do have a tax on pesticides, and it's adjusted by this pesticide load index. So the higher the load, the higher the tax, in simple ways. So I mean, it's not the same all over Europe. And I mean, if it's decided that you have a tax on pesticides, well, at least in Denmark, it's how it is. And I mean, if the farmers want to use the pesticide, well, then they pay the tax. I know that you have a tradition for protests in France, but anyway, just to say that it's not undoable, but personally, I might prefer some premium prices as well. But just say there are systems, and I know you know that, but.
Thank you, Mete. I fully agree actually with that. I think that sometimes it's more about rewarding good practices like IPM than instead of making more, if taxes or not, if the war with farmers, but we have seen about protesters and all of that. But well, getting a look at the suggestions in the Mentimeter screen, I see that the third one is about the increasing cost of using PPPs. So with taxes, I guess that it was the one that we have just discussed from the audience. But there's a second one on the second place, which is about support conversion to organic farming practices and really implement IPM. Minor economic losses should not be a reason to use pesticides before the other IPM means, like seems to be the business as usual. We would love to hear the person who have suggested this topic, because it was one of the most voted. So if it is in the audience, please don't hesitate to raise your hand, because we would love to hear your explanation on this suggestion. I don't know if we don't have the exact person raising the hand from the audience, maybe we could have some reaction from our panelists or from the IPMWORKS consortium. Would anyone like to react on that, or if we don't have the explanation from the person? It is about this maybe not considering like a business as usual, if I can say that, because it read it in the suggestion, and it's related to organic farming. But if no one would anyone like to react on that? If not, we can, in order to have the debate and the people who are making the suggestion explaining them and to have a discussion, we can move to some of the next the other suggestions. I see a reaction from Hilde.
Well, just on the organic farming subject, in my experience, many farmers do like to have the very last resource at hand. So indeed, IPM is about every other control measure instead of pesticides, but many of them would like to have the last resource at hand if things really start to go wrong.
That's fair enough. Thank you, Hilde. If we don't have more reactions on that, I would like to go through one of the next ones, because we have a nice suggestion about trainings to advisors, if I seen correctly. So the suggestion, it is about training the growers, I guess the farmers, put a special emphasis on training growers, advisors, crop consultants. They are very important in the crop management, spraying decisions. Well, that's something that is really clear in IPMWORKS, and this is one of the main messages that we are trying to put to emphasize the key role of the advisors, hub coaches, as we refer to them in IPMWORKS. So I would love to have the person who has suggested this. We have a hand raised in the audience from Tom Groot. I don't know if this was your suggestion, maybe.
Yes, this was my suggestion. I'm Tom Groot. I'm from the Netherlands, and I work for Corporate, a supplier of natural enemies that often help in IPM approaches. You know why I put this point up is because I think in many cases, not all, but in many, we think the grower is making the decision how to treat the crop. But it's only partially true. Quite often, he just relies on his advisor that visits the farms, looks at the crop, and then advises, "Hey, I see this problem or not. I see how the crop looks, and I advise you to apply a certain fertilizer or apply a certain crop protection product." So in addition to train growers, I think also these people need to be trained about the possibilities, about the alternative methods next to the conventional methods like the pesticides.
Thank you, Tom. That's really well exposed, and I would love to see some reactions in there. I see that Bruno, you have your hand raised, so you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. First, my English is not so good, so it's hard for me to explain. But in my experience, I see the IPM work maybe in few years, maybe is the last solution for farmers. We have a lot of problems because we apply a lot of pesticides, and we cause these problems. So, for example, today I pick up my lettuce, and because I move on in this philosophy, I have a lot of problems with down mildew in my lettuces. So my lettuce it's good, but have a problem appearance. I need to spend more money to pick up this lettuce. My lettuce have less hate, and I receive less value by each piece because in Portugal we sell by the hay. And comparison with my other farmers work with pesticides, put a lot of pesticides, have a lot hate in lettuce, and receive double of my of me. So the system promotes we work bad. So I concur. For me, it's more important give a positive input, like Nicholas tell in that suggestion, and because it's more constructive, I think, and we need to change this because any people work for lost money and lost production. Only crazy people. You understand? So it's important training people, but I think it's more important give us conditions to continue. And after this, and I think it's not per area because in Portugal is normal. I have a lot of people with a lot area receive money but not do nothing. So more important, give for the value of produce. I don't know if I can explain my vision, but I hope I can send my message.
You do, Bruno. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. It's true that when we think about policies and potential recommendations, thinking about policies, undoubtedly where our mind is going to the cap, and undoubtedly our mind is going to taxes and money and all of that. But it's true that supporting training for both farmers and advisors is crucial because at the end the transfer of knowledge is the base on how to keep on progressing on how to deal with pests and with the changing environment when we're dealing with plant protection products and regulation and the pest challenge that are there outside in the field. So no, thank you very much, Bruno. We have also a comment again on labeling on the chat from Olivier Legal. I know maybe Olivier, you would like to explain your point. Yeah. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
That's okay. Don't worry. Yeah, I think
No, I was just
you
replying to,
yeah.
sorry, I was just, that's in the chat because I'm a panelist and I did not manage to write in the question and answer. Anyway, I'm not a specialist in informatics.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what I was writing, I was making a reference to a European initiative to label food according to the environmental impact, and that's broader than just the use of pesticides. And I'm a bit skeptical about the ability of a label to, I mean, the ability of or the willingness of every actors to add a label on the food that would have actually a depreciating value, and also maybe a difficulty. So it has to be mandatory, otherwise it's not going to work. And when you see that the Nutri-Score, for instance, did not manage to become mandatory, it makes you a bit skeptical, I would say. And given the high value of the Nutri-Score in terms of public health, I mean, and so it's a different field. But anyway, and then if it is mandatory, there has to be some way to somehow connect a score, so a intensity of the use of pesticides, and then the score will be difficult to calculate anyway. But there are different manners, and they have been discussed earlier today. And for instance, and the premium, and if the premium is just for free, is freely left to the marketplace and to the market's law, then I would be afraid that it would be captured by the distributors, all the layers between the producers and the consumers, so that in the end, I mean, a lot of the value would be captured and not available for as a premium to the farmer. So I would be a bit skeptical. There has to be. It implies calculating a matrix score and connecting the pesticide score calculating a matrix connecting the pesticide score to the premium, and then making sure that the premium comes to the producer and is not captured on the way, like is seen for other labels as well. So yeah, I would be. That's an interesting idea, very interesting, but I think difficult to put in place if you compare it with the other initiatives in the field. And there are some initiatives now growing up in the field of the environmental impact of all types of production, not only agriculture, by the way, and also clothing and all types of services, etc. And so at least it should be connected with them, I think. That was the meaning of my comment.
Thank you.
Sorry, a bit long.
No, that's not long. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you very much. We had also some reactions on the Q&A section, and yeah, I would encourage people to raise their hand and ask for the floor to intervene. But we can take some of the questions in the Q&A, because there's one about this pesticide score to Nicolas. Sylvain Sturel is asking you about how this pesticide score could be elaborated, and what would be the reference values used to measure to what extent pesticide use has been reduced.
Because the premium has to be pretty high, because the cost is quite high for the producers. So the premium has to be pretty high, probably.
Yeah, Nicolas, would you like to jump in there?
By Sylvain, I think we could create the reference value based on the distribution of pesticide use in networks of IPM farmers, like we have in IPMWORKS, in DEFI network in France, and so on. We have a huge range of pesticide use by farmers, from zero in some cases to very high values, and we could use this to fix the threshold to go from A to B and from B to C and from D until F for the highest values. And the question is to think about what products should have the same scale, because of course you should not have the same scale for apples, which are treated maybe 40 times, and for wheat, which is treated maybe 4 or 5 times. The scale should be different. So there is something to think about how to define the scales. And there is also a lot of work to think about how to aggregate different products, because if I am a consumer buying a pizza, in a pizza you have wheat, you have tomato, you have olives, you have plenty of products. So you have what is the best score of a pizza? There is a lot to work on this. So there is plenty of work to develop this idea, but
I think they work on environmental scores altogether, and impact on biodiversity is one of the parameters that's taken into account, and pesticide use would be within impact on biodiversity. So it has to be connected. In any case, it has to be connected with the work that is going on at the European level. Also, I know in France, but at the European level, on these matters, I doubt very much that a score on pesticide use only would succeed. Although sometimes maybe the simplest is the most efficient. So maybe yeah.
And just one point on this: there are so many initiatives trying to make some multi-criteria scores.
Yeah.
But the more the score is multi-criteria, the more room there is for greenwashing, in my opinion.
Sure.
Whereas
Yeah, sure.
a score on pesticide only is something that the consumers can understand very easily, and I think it can be very powerful.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you both. Time is running really fast, and we have a couple of hands raised in the audience. I don't know who was first, but Heike Siebold. Sorry if I don't pronounce that correctly. Heike?
Yes, it's all right. Thank you. I just wondered if we have a pesticide score for products that we like plant products, would we also have a pesticide score for animal, like for meat that has been like an animal has been fed with agricultural products? So if these agricultural products that the animal eats, would they also get a pesticide score, and therefore the meat have a pesticide score? Because then it gets really interesting when it comes to imported like animal feed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have said everything, Heike. I think the challenge would be to develop this pesticide score also on animal products, because of the reason that you said. It has a huge power to change agriculture. If the meat produced based on American soybean using GMOs with glyphosate and so on if soybean is important with a pesticide score or F, the meat would have a pesticide score or F and would be less bought by European consumers who would prefer meat coming from animals that have been fed by local products with lower amounts of pesticides.
Thank you, Nicola. I think that we are running out of time, and this is always the same issue when we are dealing with. We have seen it during the life of the project that we have when we are having debates and discussions, and there's always not enough time to address all the issues. So I would like just to, because we are missing a lot of suggestions in the Mentimeter tool, and I would like just to check the last one before we close. Because there's a really nice suggestions about funding on farms trials to cover cost to farmers and research staff. This would be the last suggestion that we may address, because as I said, we are running out of time. But this is a really nice suggestion, because one of the topics that we have been defending during the project is to support the research activities and to support the field demonstration trials. So I don't know who was the person who suggested this one about the structured funding for on-farm trials, grants to cover costs to farmers and research staff, time, materials. But we would love to have this person briefly defending this. Andrew, Christy? our colleague from IPMWORKS. This was you. I see your hand raised. Can you, yeah, Andrew?
Yes, I think that was me.
Great.
Yeah, funding for on-farm trials. So it was something that I found was really useful coming out of the IPMWORKS project, and it was the thing that engaged the farmers most because it was relevant and it was based on the context of the farm. I think it was said before in this meeting that seeing is believing, but that empirical evidence, the evidence in the field, is the thing that has a real impact in terms of uptake of different practices. And if we miss out that step, we can just fail to translate our research into actual practice. So it's that final step from testing things in the lab, bringing it out into the glasshouse, small plots in the field, and then it's that getting it out into the real world. If it was technology, it would be TRL 6 to 8 we're working on. It's that final step in translating these practices into something more useful and I guess having an impact at a wider level.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much for this contribution. And as mentioned, this is really important for IPMWORKS, and it was an important message. Thank you, Andrew, very much. We need to stop this part of the webinar here. We need to stop the workshop because we are really running out of time. I would like to thank everyone for your participation and your contribution. Very much appreciated. And we're sorry for not being able to address all the suggestions in there. But thank you very much for your contributions and voting. So I'm giving the floor back to Nicola because, yeah, we're getting to the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joaquin. Very nice workshop, I think. Very interesting. We are coming to the end of this webinar now. And I thank Mr. Olivier Legal, who accepted to react at the end of our webinar and say some words on behalf of the agroecology partnership he is chairing. So, Olivier, the floor is yours.
Yes, could you start my camera? I don't really need the camera, actually. I can speak, but apparently my microphone is working. Oh, yeah. No, I cannot start my camera. There it is. Anyway, thank you, Nicola. Thank you for the invitation. Congratulations for the job done in the last few years by the project IPMWORKS. It's brilliant. It was very exciting to be with you today. When Nicola invited me some days or weeks ago to join the meeting for the final event of the project, my first answer was it was to make sure if agroecology would still be considered and still be relevant, and IPM would still be relevant. And my first answer was to ask whether one would ask the Pope if it is relevant to be a Catholic, and I'm not the Pope, but I warned that my answer could be biased somehow. But anyway, is IPM relevant? And I'm going to speak from the perspective of the partnership that's now here. That's called the Agroecology Partnership, which I'm working with now I've been working with for the last few months. And so the first question is, did the farming transition really leave the political agenda? That's an important question. Both in France and in Europe, we see some backwards movements and backwards trends moving on now. But maybe nobody asked the flora and the fauna, the soils, the water quality, the other resources and valuable items that are impacted by our necessary food provision, but they certainly should. But you could just ask the consumers, you could just ask the farmers, maybe not their bankers of the farmers, although this has to be checked, but at least their doctors. whether the farming needs a transition in Europe and elsewhere globally. And the answer would be definitely yes. And so it has probably left, there are some appearance that it has left the agenda, but definitely it's there. And for instance, in the French national law, there has been an act that was passed recently that enabled things that had been forbidden before, enable them back. But still, the first article of the law for farming remains the same, and with a provision that farming takes care of the environment. Though, are all conditions ready for the farming transition that is so dearly demanded by the populations, by our societies now? And is there no removal of molecules without solutions, that slogan that we hear a lot in France nowadays, viable in the long term? Probably not. Is the transition, not probably not, but certainly not. The transition requires innovation, and innovation in building, in networking, in operating knowledge, in networking initiatives that exist without more knowledge, but just initiatives of citizens, of farmers, etc. And I'm not speaking about, I'm not a fan of the top-down versus bottom-up approaches, because it's hard to see if there is a top and a bottom in the innovation pathways in an ecosystem that is as complex and as complexly interconnected as food systems are. But definitely we need innovation, we need knowledge, we need the work you are doing. And Nicolas speaks specifically about the agroecology partnerships. So as you know, Horizon Europe is the key funding program of the Union for Research and Innovation. And it has 3 pillars: one pillar on excellent science, one pillar on that's called Innovative Europe, and the pillar number 2, so I changed the orders, but the pillar number 2 is on global challenges, and there are 6 clusters of global challenges: their health, culture, security, digital and space, climate and energy. And the cluster number 6 is food, bioeconomy, natural resources, and agriculture and the environment. And it has itself, so it is implemented through calls for proposals for projects, the ones you may be used as researchers. But there are also a new type of tool that appeared in Horizon Europe, and that's the partnerships. And there are within cluster 6 partnerships are the networking of research funding organizations, research funding agencies, and organizations and other actors to co-fund transnational actions on the particular challenges that there are. And so co-fund, meaning the actors provide some money, Europe adds some more money to fund transnational action that is coordinated throughout Europe, and so the national and the international and transnational projects can be funded. And cluster 6 has, I think, 8 partnerships in this manner. The one about biodiversity, one about the blue economy, that's the economy of the oceans, one about water, one about animal health and welfare, one about future food systems, where I'm only 5. Okay, and one about agroecology, and that's the one I'm talking about. And the agroecology partnership relies largely on, like every partnership, on the research funding and the research performing organizations, on annual calls for proposal. And we have already one call that funded, I don't remember how many, but maybe 20 projects, something like that, for about 37 million euros, I think. So it may not be a lot, but it is quite significant, because these were quite innovative projects in terms of the way they were tackling some special questions. And call 2, the second call is being processed. The partnership started last year, and we are preparing the third call. So just starting the preparation of the third call for next year. And the general framing of the partnership is the strategic research and innovation agenda that has been put together by the Standing Committee on Agricultural Research, in which IPM stands with no ambiguity, very highly. And so definitely the answer, there is no question. The answer is yes. IPM is within the scope of the partnership, and it's high up in the scope of the partnership. It's like in the second item of it's the first the first thing that is listed in the second item. The first item being, I think, climate adaptation, and then there is pest management. Oh, the first item is selection, then pest management, then climate, etc. So yes, definitely IPM is there, and the partnership is also relying on community-based approaches such as research infrastructures and living labs, and as far as I understand from the talk that I heard today, IPMWORKS hubs have some properties that makes them close to living labs. Although I did not quite figure whether they are tools for researchers working with farmers or for farmers working with researchers, which is not exactly the same thing. A living lab is more farmers and actors in general working with researchers. And because agroecology implementation is more context specific and less globally generic than, say, chemistry-based solution, that's why community-based approaches are very relevant, and local approaches are very relevant, although it's difficult to mobilize research in these local specific contexts, and there is an issue about that, and so that's why living labs are very favored in the partnership. Therefore, I would to conclude, I would feel quite confident that IPM approaches are okay, liable for funding through the agroecology partnership. So the partnership will be there for another several years, at least 5, and we are trying to extend it now, but perhaps not as such, perhaps not a project on IPM as the ones that you're used to, but depending on the properties of each call. The calls are not generic, they are just thematic calls, rather framed in the expectations of each call, which are different year after year. But definitely IPM would get better chances by being based on living labs or other community-based approaches, and in a systemic research and innovation context, definitely. And there is a last rule that no one should forget. That the partnership applies is only projects that are submitted get funded in the end. So the top 1 condition for project eligibility is that it is submitted, and so please submit projects. It's important, and you're going to produce very great, very interesting projects. So yeah. So the answer to the question that Nicola asked me is yes, definitely.
Thank you very much for those concluding words and this reaction to our webinar. You did confirm that IPM, the topic of IPM and the topic of overuse of pesticides are still in the agenda of EU through the different instruments of the European Commission, and it's good to hear from our side because
yeah, and I also need to I also need to say that we see so many things changing so fast that it's good to ask the question once in a while, and we also do, of course. But I'm confident that at least because there are some solid, deep reasons why this research should go on, because I mean the consumers would simply not understand.
Exactly. And this is in line with what I wanted to conclude with. Regarding IPM, very often we know that solutions are there. We have to combine them with a holistic approach. We have to redesign farming systems to combine those solutions to progress further towards the sustainability of agriculture. We need some research, as you said just before. We need some research to find some technical solutions where, in the cases where we are lacking solutions, and there are still some situations where we are lacking solutions, of course. But we also need to change the whole systems, as discussed during the workshop, to engage the whole agri-food system, and the European consumers, and we have to find some solutions so that reducing pesticide use through holistic IPM is not anymore seen as a constraint by the farmers, by the farming community, but as an economic opportunity for them to meet the approval of the whole farming community. And I think it is very important to have the approval of the whole farming community, and it is a challenge. So now we are closing this event. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank you, Mr. Legal, for your contribution on behalf of the Agroecology Partnership. I want to thank all the speakers today, and especially Bruno, who did a nice testimony as a farmer. I want to thank Serp and Joaquin and Calypso, who moderated the sessions and the Q&A sessions. I have to thank the European Commission that funded this project. I want to thank our policy officer representing DG Agri, and also our project officer who did monitor our activities throughout the project. I want to thank the dream team of IPMWORKS, of the IPMWORKS consortium, because we made an excellent job, I think. And I want also to thank all the team who spent some time and energy to prepare this final event. I have a special thank to the interpreters into French that probably had a big, difficult job today to interpret all the speeches of us. And finally, I want to thank the audience who spent the afternoon with us. I want to thank you for your interest in the topic of IPM and for your support to the farming community, especially for your contribution to progress further towards agricultural sustainability. And these words are closing this event, and I wish you a nice evening. Thank you very much. Goodbye.